Hi, and welcome to Pages Aloud. We're so glad you're here. Today we're continuing our journey through the English dictionary with our continuation of the letter A. Whether you're learning, curious, or just love words, this one's for you. Let's begin. Affluxion, the act of flowing towards, afflux, affidel, asphodel, a force, to reinforce, to strengthen, afforcement, a fortress, a fortification for defense, afforcement, see afforcement, afforded, of afford, affording, of afford, afford, to give forth, to supply yield or produce as the natural result fruit or issue, as grapes afford wine, olives afford oil, the earth affords fruit, the sea affords an abundant supply of fish. Affordable, that may be afforded. Affordment, anything given as a help, bestowal. Aforest, to convert into a forest, as to afforest a tract of country. Afforestation, the act of converting into forest or woodland. Afformative, an affix. A franchise, to make free, to enfranchise. Affranchisement, the act of making free, enfranchisement. Affrap, to strike or strike down. Afraid, of affray. Affray, to startle from quiet, to alarm. Affrayer, one engaged in an affray. Affrayment, affray, affreight, to hire as a ship for the transportation of goods or freight. A freighter, one who hires or charters a ship to convey goods. Affreightment, the act of hiring or the contract for the use of a vessel or some part of it to convey cargo. Affret, a furious onset or attack. Affriction, the act of rubbing against. Affriended, made friends, reconciled. Affrighted, of affright. Affrighting, of affright. Affright, to impress with sudden fear, to frighten, to alarm. Affrightedly, with fright. Affrighten, to frighten. Affrighter, one who frightens. Affrightful, terrifying, frightful. Affrightment, affright, the state of being frightened, sudden fear or alarm. Affronted, of affront. Affronting, of affront. Affront, to front, to face in position, to meet or encounter face to face. Affront, face to face or front to front, facing. Affrontedly, shamelessly. Affrontee, one who receives an affront. Affronter, one who affronts or insults to the face. Affrontingly, in an affronting manner. Affrontive, tending to affront or offend. Offensive, abusive. Affrontiveness, the quality that gives an affront or offense. Affused, of affuse. Affusing, of affuse. Affuse, to pour out or upon. Affusion, the act of pouring upon or sprinkling with a liquid as water upon a child in baptism. Affied, of affy, affying, of affy, affy, to confide one's self to or in, to trust. Afghan, of or pertaining to Afghanistan. Afield, to in or on the field. Afire, on fire. Aflame, in flames, glowing with light or passion, ablaze. Aflat, level with the ground, flat. Afflaunt, in a flaunting state or position. Afflicker, in a flickering state. Afloat, borne on the water, floating, on board ship. Aflow, flowing. A flush, in a flushed or blushing state. A flutter. In a flutter, agitated. A foam. In a foaming state, as the sea is all afoam. A foot. On foot. Afore. Before. Aforesighted. Named or quoted before. Aforegoing. Going before, foregoing. Aforehand. Beforehand. In anticipation. Aforementioned. Previously mentioned, before mentioned. Aforenamed. Named before. Aforesaid. Said before or in a preceding part. Already described or identified. Aforethought. Premeditated, prepense, previously in mind, designed, as malice aforethought which is required to constitute murder. Aforetime. In time past, formerly. A fortiori, with stronger reason. Afoul. In collision, entangled. Afraid. Impressed with fear or apprehension. In fear, apprehensive. Offreet. Same as afreet. Afresh. Anew. Again. Once more. Newly. Afric. African. African. Of or pertaining to Africa. Afrikander. One born in Africa, the offspring of a white father and a colored mother. Also and now commonly in southern Africa, a native born of European settlers. Africanism. A word, phrase, idiom, or custom peculiar to Africa or Africans. Africanize. To place under the domination of Africans or Negroes. Afreet. Alt of Offreet. Afrite. Alt of Offreet. Affront. In front, face to face. Aft. Near or towards the stern of a vessel, astern, abaft. After. Next, later in time. Subsequent. Succeeding. As an after period of life. Afterbirth. The placenta and membranes with which the fetus is connected and which come away after delivery. Aftercast. A throw of dice after the game had ended, hence anything done too late. Afterclap. An unexpected subsequent event. Something disagreeable happening after an affair is supposed to be at an end. Aftercrop. A second crop or harvest in the same year. Afterdamp. An irrespirable gas remaining after an explosion of fire damp in mines. Choke damp. See carbonic acid. After dinner. The time just after dinner. Afterreadage. Aftergrass. Aftereye. To look after. Aftergame. A second game. Hence a subsequent scheme or expedient. Afterglow. A glow of refulgence in the western sky after sunset. Aftergrass. The grass that grows after the first crop has been mown. Aftermath. Aftergrowth. A second growth or crop, or metaphorically, development. Afterguard. The seaman or seamen stationed on the poop or after part of the ship to attend the after sails. Afterimage. The impression of a vivid sensation retained by the retina of the eye after the cause has been removed. Also extended to impressions left of tones, smells, etc. Afterings. The last milk drawn in milking, strokings. Aftermath. A second moving. The grass which grows after the first crop of hay in the same season, rowan. Aftermentioned. Mentioned afterwards, as persons after mentioned in a writing. Aftermost. Hindmost, opposed to foremost. Afternoon. The part of the day which follows noon between noon and evening. Afternote. One of the small notes occur on the unaccented parts of the measure, taking their time from the preceding note. Afterpains. the pains which succeed childbirth, as in expelling the afterbirth. Afterpiece, a piece performed after a play, usually a farce or other small entertainment. After sails, the sails on the mizzenmast or on the stays between the mainmast and mizzenmast. After shaft, the hypoptylum. Aftertaste, a taste which remains in the mouth after eating or drinking. Afterthought, reflection after an act, later or subsequent thought or expedient. Afterwards, alt of afterward, afterward, at a later or succeeding time. Afterwise, wise after the event, wise or knowing when it is too late. Afterwit, wisdom or perception that comes after it can be of use. Afterwitted, characterized by afterwit, slow-witted. Aftmost, nearest the stern. Aftward, toward the stern. Aga, alt of aga, aga. In Turkey, a commander or chief officer. It is used also as a title of respect. Again, in return back, as bring us word again. Against, also towards, in order to meet. Again by, to redeem. Against-say, to gainsay. Against, abreast, opposite to, facing, towards, as against the mouth of a river. In this sense, often preceded by over. Against-stand, to withstand. Againward, back again. Agalactia, alt of agalaxy. Agalaxy, failure of the due secretion of milk after childbirth. Agalactus, lacking milk to suckle with. Agalagal, same as agar-agar. Agala, alt of agallicum. Agallicum, a soft resinous wood, Aquilaria agaloca, of highly aromatic smell, burnt by the Orientals as a perfume. It is called also agalwood and aloes wood. The name is also given to some other species. Agalmatolite, a soft compact stone of a grayish-greenish or yellowish color carved into images by the Chinese, and hence called figure stone and pagadite. It is probably a variety of pinite. Agama, a genus of lizards, one of the few which feed upon vegetable substances. Also one of these lizards. Agamis, of agami. Agami, a South American bird, Sophia crepitans, allied to the cranes and easily domesticated, called also the gold-breasted trumpeter. Its body is about the size of the pheasant. Sea trumpeter, agamike, produced without sexual union, as agamike or unfertilized eggs. Agamically, in an agamike manner. Agamist, an unmarried person, also one opposed to marriage. Agamigenesis, reproduction without the union of parents of distinct sexes, asexual reproduction. Agamigenetic, reproducing or produced without sexual union. Agamus, having no visible sexual organs, asexual. Aganglionic, without ganglia. Agape, gaping as with wonder, expectation, or eager attention. Agape, of agape. Agar-agar, a fucus or seaweed much used in the East for soups and jellies. Ceylon moss, Gracilaria lichenoides. Agaric, a fungus of the genus Agaricus, of many species of which the common mushroom is an example. Agasp, in a state of gasping. Aghast, alt of aghast. Aghast, to affright, to terrify. Agastric, having the stomach or distinct digestive canal, as the tapeworm. Agate, on the way, a-going, as to be agate, to set the bells agate. Agatiferous, containing or producing agates. Agatine, pertaining to or like agate. Agatize, to convert into agate, to make resemble agate. Agate, of the nature of agate or containing agate. Agave, a genus of plants, order Amaryllidaceae, of which the chief species is the maguey or century plant. A. Americana, wrongly called aloe. Agazed, gazing with astonishment, amazed. Age, the whole duration of a being, whether animal, vegetable, or other kind. Lifetime. Aged, of age. Aging, of age. Agedly, in the manner of an aged person. Agedness, the quality of being aged, oldness. Ageless, without old age limits of duration, as fountains of ageless youth. Agen, see again. Agencies, of agency. Agency, the faculty of acting or of exerting power, the state of being in action. Action, instrumentality. Agend, see agendum. Agenda, of agendum. Agendum, something to be done, in the PL. A memorandum book. Agenesic, characterized by sterility, infecund. Agenesis, any imperfect development of the body or any anomaly of organization. Agenesis, impotence, sterility. Agent, acting, opposed to patient or sustaining action. Agential, of or pertaining to an agent or an agency. Agentship, agency. Ageratum, a genus of plants, one species of which, A. mexicanum, has lavender blue flowers in dense clusters. Ageneration, the act of producing in addition. Ager, an earthwork, a mound, a raised work. Agorate, to heap up. Agoration, a heaping up, accumulation, as aggregations of sand. Agoros, in heaps, full of heaps. Agist, to heap up. Agglomerated, of agglomerate. Agglomerating, of agglomerate. Agglomerate, to wind or collect into a ball, hence to gather into a mass or anything like a mass. Agglomeration, the act or process of collecting in a mass, a heaping together. Agglomerative, having a tendency to gather together or to make collections. Agglutinant, uniting as glue, causing or tending to cause adhesion. Agglutinated, of agglutinate. Agglutinating, of agglutinate. Agglutinate, to unite or cause to adhere as with glue or other viscous substance. To unite by causing an adhesion of substances. Agglutination, the act of uniting by glue or other tenacious substance. The state of being thus united, adhesion of parts. Agglutinative, pertaining to agglutination, tending to unite or having power to cause adhesion, adhesive. Aggrace, to favor, to grace. Aggrandizable, capable of being aggrandized. Aggrandization, aggrandizement, aggrandized, of aggrandize. Aggrandizing, of aggrandize. Aggrandize, to make great, to enlarge, to increase, as to aggrandize our conceptions, authority, distress. Aggrandizement, the act of aggrandizing or the state of being aggrandized or exalted in power, rank, honor, or wealth. Exaltation, enlargement, as the emperor seeks only the aggrandizement of his own family. Aggrandizer, one who aggrandizes or makes great. Aggravate, to please. Aggravated, of aggravate. aggravating, of aggravate, aggravate, to make heavy or heavier, to add to increase, aggravatingly, in an aggravating manner, aggravation, the act of aggravating or making worse, used of evils natural or moral, the act of increasing in severity or heinousness, something additional to a crime or wrong and enhancing its guilt or injurious consequences. Aggravative, tending to aggravate. Aggregated, of aggregate, aggregating, of aggregate, aggregate, to bring together, to collect into a mass or sum. The aggregated soil, aggregately, collectively, in mass. Aggregation, the act of aggregating or the state of being aggregated, collection into a mass or sum, a collection of particulars, an aggregate. Aggregative, taken together, collective. Aggregator, one who aggregates. Aggrege, to make heavy, to aggravate. Aggressed, of aggress. Aggressing, of aggress. Aggress, to commit the first act of hostility or offense, to begin a quarrel or controversy, to make an attack, with on. Aggression, the first attack or act of hostility, the first act of injury or first act leading to a war or a controversy. Unprovoked attack, assault, as a war of aggression. Aggressions of power, aggressive, tending or disposed to aggress, characterized by aggression, making assaults, unjustly attacking, as an aggressive policy war person nation. Aggressor, the person who first attacks or makes an aggression, he who begins hostility or a quarrel, an assailant. A grievance, oppression, hardship, injury, grievance. Aggrieved, of aggrieve. Aggrieving, of aggrieve. Aggrieve, to give pain or sorrow to afflict, hence to oppress or injure in one's rights, to bear heavily upon, now commonly used in the passive to be aggrieved. Aggrupped, of a group. A grouping, of a group. A group, to bring together in a group, to group. A groupment, arrangement in a group or in groups, grouping. Agri, alt of agri, agri, applied to a kind of variegated glass beads of ancient manufacture, as agri beads are found in Ashanti and Fanti in Africa. Ageable, possible to be done, practicable. Agile, having the faculty of quick motion in the limbs, apt or ready to move. Nimble, active, as an agile boy, an agile tongue. Agilely, in an agile manner, nimbly. Agileness, agility, nimbleness. Agility, the quality of being agile, the power of moving the limbs quickly and easily. Nimbleness, activity, quickness of motion, as strength and agility of body. Agios, of agio, agio, the premium or percentage on a better sort of money when it is given in exchange for an inferior sort. The premium or discount on foreign bills of exchange is sometimes called agio. Agitage, exchange business, also stock jobbing. The maneuvers of speculators to raise or lower the price of stocks or public funds. Agist, to take to graze or pasture at a certain sum, used originally of the feeding of cattle in the king's forests and collecting the money for the same. Agistator, see agister, alt of agister, agister, formerly an officer of the king's forest who had the care of cattle legisted and collected the money for the same, hence called gist taker, which in England is corrupted into guest taker. Agistment, formerly the taking and feeding of other men's cattle in the king's forests. Agitable, capable of being agitated or easily moved. Agitated, of agitate. Agitating, of agitate. Agitate, to move with a violent, irregular action, as the wind agitates the sea, to agitate water in a vessel. Agitatedly, in an agitated manner. Agitation, the act of agitating or the state of being agitated, the state of being moved with violence or with irregular action, commotion, as the sea after a storm is in agitation. Agitative, tending to agitate. Agitato, sung or played in a restless, hurried, and spasmodic manner. Agitator, one who agitates, one who stirs up or excites others, as political reformers and agitators. Agleam, gleaming, as faces agleam. Aglet, aglet, a tag of a lace or of the points, braids, or cords formerly used in dress. They were sometimes formed into small images. Hence, aglet baby, shack, an aglet image. Agally, aside, ask you. A glimmer, in a glimmering state. A glitter, glittering, in a glitter. Aglossal, without tongue, tongueless. A glow, in a glow, glowing, as cheeks aglow, the landscape all aglow. Aglutition, inability to swallow. Agmenal, pertaining to an army marching or to a train. Agmenate, alt of agmenated. Agmenated, grouped together, as the agmenated glands of Pyre in the small intestine. Agnail, a corn on the toe or foot. Agnate, related or akin by the father's side, also sprung from the same male ancestor. Agnatic, pertaining to descent by the male line of ancestors. Agnation, consanguinity by a line of males only as distinguished from cognation. Agnition, acknowledgement. Aniise, to recognize, to acknowledge. Agnoiology, the doctrine concerning those things of which we are necessarily ignorant. Agnomen, an additional or fourth name given by the Romans on account of some remarkable exploit or event, as Publius Caius Scipio Africanus. Agnominate, to name. Agnomination, a surname. Agnostic, professing ignorance, involving no dogmatic, pertaining to or involving agnosticism. Agnosticism, that doctrine which professing ignorance neither asserts nor denies. Agnosis, of Agnes. Agni, of Agnes. Agnes, Agnus Dei. Agnus Castus, a species of vitex, v. Agnus Castus, the chaste tree. Agnus Dei, a figure of a lamb bearing a cross or flag. Ago, past, gone by, since, as 10 years ago, gone long ago. Agog, in eager desire, eager, astir. Agoing, in motion, in the act of going, as to set a mill a-going. Agons, of agon, agon, a contest for a prize at the public games. Agon, ago, agonic, not forming an angle. Agonism, contention for a prize, a contest. Agonist, one who contends for the prize in public games. Agonistic, alt of agonistical. Agonistical, pertaining to violent contests, bodily or mental, pertaining to athletic or polemic feats, athletic, combative, hence strained, unnatural, agonistically, in an agonistic manner, agonistics, the science of athletic combats or contests in public games, agonized, of agonize, agonizing, of agonize, agonize, to writhe with agony, to suffer violent anguish, agonizingly, with extreme anguish or desperate struggles, agonothete, an officer who presided over the great public games in Greece, agonothetic, pertaining to the office of an agonothete, agonies, of agony, agony, violent contest or striving, agued, in earnest, heartily, agora, an assembly, hence the place of assembly, especially the marketplace in an ancient Greek city, aguara, the crab-eating raccoon, Procyon quincnivorus, found in the tropical parts of America, agoyuta, a small insectivorous mammal, Solenodon paradoxus, allied to the moles found only in Haiti. Agouti, alt of agouti, agouti, a rodent of the genus Dasyprocta about the size of a rabbit peculiar to South America and the West Indies. The most common species is the Dasyprocta agouti. Agrace, see agrace, agraph, a hook or clasp, a grammatist, a illiterate person, agraphia, the absence or loss of the power of expressing ideas by written signs. It is one form of aphasia, agraphic, characterized by agraphia, agraps, hooks and eyes for armor, etc. Agrarian, pertaining to fields or lands or their tenure. ESP, relating to an equal or equitable division of lands, as the agrarian laws of Rome, which distributed the conquered and other public lands among citizens. Agrarianism, an equal or equitable division of landed property, the principles or acts of those who favor a redistribution of land. Agrarianize, to distribute according to or to imbue with the principles of agrarianism. Agra, alt of agree, agree, in good part, kindly, agreed, of agree, agreeing, of agree, agreeability, easiness of disposition, agreeable, pleasing either to the mind or senses, pleasant, grateful, as agreeable manners or remarks, an agreeable person, fruit agreeable to the taste. Agreeableness, the quality of being agreeable or pleasing, that quality which gives satisfaction or moderate pleasure to the mind or senses. Agreeably, in an agreeably manner, in a manner to give pleasure, pleasingly. Agreeingly, in an agreeing manner, too. Correspondingly, agreeably. Agreement, state of agreeing, harmony of opinion, statement, action, or character. Concurrence, concord, conformity, as a good agreement subsists among the members of the council. Agrarer, one who agrees. Agrestic, pertaining to fields or the country in opposition to the city. Rural, rustic, unpolished, uncouth. Agrestical, agrestic. Agriculation, agriculture. Agriculist, a cultivator of the soil, an agriculturist. Agricultor, an agriculturist, a farmer. Agricultural, of or pertaining to agriculture, connected with or engaged in tillage, as the agricultural class, agricultural implements, wages, etc. Agriculturalist, an agriculturist, which is the preferred form. Agriculture, the art or science of cultivating the ground, including the harvesting of crops and the rearing and management of livestock. Tillage, husbandry, farming. Agriculturism, agriculture, agriculturist, one engaged or skilled in agriculture, a husbandman. A grief, in grief, amiss. Agrimony, a genus of plants of the rose family. Agrin, in the act of grinning. Agriologist, one versed or engaged in agriology. Agriology, description or comparative study of the customs of savage or uncivilized tribes. Agrees, to shudder with terror, to tremble with fear. Agrum, a disease occurring in Bengal and other parts of the East Indies in which the tongue chaps and cleaves. Agronomic, alt of agronomical. Agronomical, pertaining to agronomy of the management of farms. Agronomics, the science of the distribution and management of land. Agronomist, one versed in agronomy, a student of agronomy. Agronomy, the management of land, rural economy, agriculture. Agrope, in the act of groping. Agrostis, a genus of grasses including species called in common language bent grass. Some of them, as redtop, Agrostis vulgaris, are valuable pasture grasses. Agrostographic, alt of agrostographical. Agrostographical, pertaining to agrostography. Agrostography, a description of the grasses. Agrostologic, alt of agrostological. Agrostological, pertaining to agrostology. Agrostologist, one skilled in agrostology. Agrostology, that part of botany which treats of the grasses. Aground, on the ground, stranded, a nautical term applied to a ship when its bottom lodges on the ground. Agroupment, see agroupment. Agrypnotic, anything which prevents sleep or produces wakefulness as strong tea or coffee. Aguardiente, an inferior brandy of Spain and Portugal. Ague, an acute fever. Agued, of ague, a guilt, to be guilty of, to offend, to sin against, to wrong. Aguise, dress. Aguish, having the qualities of an ague, somewhat cold or shivering, chilly, shaky. Agush, in a gushing state. Aginous, without female organs, male. Al, an exclamation expressive of surprise, pity, complaint, entreaty, contempt, threatening, delight, triumph, etc., according to the manner of utterance. Aha, an exclamation expressing by different intonations triumph mixed with derision or irony or simple surprise. Ahead, in or to the front, in advance, onward. A heap, in a heap, huddled together. A height, aloft, on high. A hem, an exclamation to call one's attention. Hem. Ahi, hey ho. A high, on high. A hold, near the wind, as to lay a ship ahold. A horseback, on horseback. Ahoy, a term used in hailing, as ship ahoy. Ahriman, the evil principle or being of the ancient Persians, the prince of darkness as opposer to Ormuzd, the king of light. Ahu, the Asiatic gazelle. A hull, with the sails furled and the helm lashed a lee, applied to ships in a storm. Sea hull, n. A hungered, pinched with hunger, very hungry. Ace, of Ai. Ai, The three-toed sloth, Bradipus tridactylus, of South America. Sea sloth. Ablans. Alt of ablans. H is metal, a kind of gun metal containing copper, zinc, and iron, but no tin. Aided. Of aid. Aiding. Of aid. Aid. To support either by furnishing strength or means in cooperation to effect a purpose or to prevent or to remove evil. To help. To assist. Aidance. Aid. Aidant. Helping. Helpful. Supplying aid. Aides-de-camp. Of aide-de-camp. Aide-de-camp. An officer selected by a general to carry orders, also to assist or represent him in correspondence and in directing movements. Aider. One who or that which aids. Aidful. Helpful. Aidless. Helpless, without aid. Aid major. The adjutant of a regiment. Ale. See ale. Agar. Sour. Agarmore. Charcoal prepared for making powder. Aigrette. Alt of aigrette. Aigrette. The small white European heron. See egret. Aiguille. A needle-shaped peak. Aiguillette. A point or tag at the end of a fringe or lace. An aglet. Aiguillet. See aglet. Ailed. Of ale. Ailing. Of ale. Ale. To affect with pain or uneasiness, either physical or mental. To trouble. To be the matter with. Used to express some uneasiness or affection whose cause is unknown, as what ails the man. I know not what ails him. Ailanthus. Same as Ailanthus. Ailanthus. A genus of beautiful trees natives of the East Indies. The tree imperfectly D/Sias, and the staminate or male plant is very offensive when blossom. Ailet. A small square shield formerly worn on the shoulders of knights, being the prototype of the modern epaulet. Ailment. Indisposition, morbid affection of the body, not applied ordinarily to acute diseases. Ailuroidea. A group of the carnivora which includes the cats, civets, and hyenas. Aimed. Of aim. Aiming. Of aim. Aim. To point or direct a missile weapon or a weapon which propels as missile towards an object or spot with the intent of hitting it, as to aim at a fox or at a target. Aimer. One who aims, directs, or points. Aimless. Without aim or purpose, as an aimless life. Aino. One of a peculiar race inhabiting Yeso, the Coral Islands, etc., in the northern part of the Empire of Japan, by some supposed to have been the progenitors of the Japanese. The Ainos are stout and short with hairy bodies. Ain't. A contraction for are not and am not, also used for is not. Colic, or illiterate speech. Seant. Air. The fluid which we breathe and which surrounds the earth, the atmosphere. It is invisible, inodorous, insipid, transparent, compressible, elastic, and ponderable. Aired. Of air. Airing. Of air. Airbed. A sack or matters inflated with air and used as a bed. Air bladder. An air sac, sometimes double or variously lobed in the visceral cavity of many fishes. It originates in the same way as the lungs of air-breathing vertebrates, and in the adult may retain a tubular connection with the pharynx or esophagus. Air brake. A railway brake operated by condensed air. Air-built. Erected in the air, having no solid foundation, chimerical, as an air-built castle. Air cell. A cavity in the cellular tissue of plants containing air only. Air chamber. a chamber or cavity filled with air in an animal or plant. Air cock, a faucet to allow escape of air. Air drawn, drawn in air, imaginary. Air drill, a drill driven by the elastic pressure of condensed air, a pneumatic drill. Air engine, an engine driven by heated or by compressed air. Air, one who exposes to the air. Air gas, see under gas. Air gun, a kind of gun in which the elastic force of condensed air is used to discharge the ball. The air is powerfully compressed into a reservoir attached to the gun by a condensing pump and is controlled by a valve actuated by the trigger. Air hole, a hole to admit or discharge air, specifically a spot in the ice not frozen over. Airily, in an airy manner, lightly, gaily, jauntily, flippantly. Airiness, the state or quality of being airy, openness or exposure to the air, as the airiness of a country seat. Air jacket, a jacket having airtight cells or cavities which can be filled with air to render persons buoyant in swimming. Airless, not open to a free current of air, wanting fresh air or communication with the open air. Air level, spirit level, sea level. Air-like, resembling air. Airling, a thoughtless gay person. Aerometer, a hollow cylinder to contain air. It is closed above and open below and has its open end plunged into water. Air pipe, a pipe for the passage of air. ESP, a ventilating pipe. Air plant, a plant deriving its sustenance from the air alone. An aerophyte. Air poise, an instrument to measure the weight of air. Air pump, a kind of pump for exhausting air from a vessel or closed space. Also a pump to condense air or force it into a closed space. Air sac, one of the spaces in different parts of the bodies of birds which are filled with air and connected with the air passages of the lungs. An air cell. Air shaft, a passage usually vertical for admitting fresh air into a mine or a tunnel. Air slacked, slacked or pulverized by exposure to the air, as air slacked lime. Air stove, a stove for heating a current of air which is directed against its surface by means of pipes and then distributed through a building. Airtight, so tight as to be impermeable to air, as an airtight cylinder. Air vessel, a vessel cell duct or tube containing or conducting air, as the air vessels of insects, birds, plants, etc., the air vessel of a pump engine, etc. For the latter, see air chamber. The air vessels of insects are called tracheae, of plants, spiral vessels. Airward, alt of airwards. Airwards, toward the air, upward. Airy, consisting of air, as an airy substance, the airy parts of bodies. Aisle, a lateral division of a building separated from the middle part, called the nave by a row of columns or piers which support the roof, or an upper wall containing windows called the clerestory wall. Aisled, furnished with an aisle or aisles. Aceless, without an aisle. 8. An islet or little isle in a river or lake, an eyot. H. The letter H or H. H-bone, the bone of the rump, also the cut of beef surrounding this bone. Etiology, see etiology. Ajar, slightly turned or opened, as the door was standing ajar. A jog, on the jog. A juttage, a tube through which water is discharged, an efflux tube, as the adjuttage of a fountain. Ache, see ache. Akeen, same as akeen. Akaton, see actin. Akimbo, with a crook or bend, with the hand on the hip and elbow turned outward. Akin, of the same kin, related by blood, used of persons, as the two families are near akin. Akinesia, paralysis of the motor nerves, loss of movement. Akinesic, pertaining to akinesia. Acne, on the knee. Ano, earlier form of agno. All, all, wholly, completely, as almighty, almost. Ali, of Allah, Allah a wing-like organ or part. Alabama period, a period in the American Eocene, the lowest in the Tertiary age except the lignitic. Alabaster, a compact variety or sulfate of lime or gypsum of fine texture, and usually white and translucent, but sometimes yellow-red or gray. It is carved into vases, mantle ornaments, etc. Alabastrian, alabastrin, of pertaining to or like alabaster, as alabastrin limbs. Alabastra, of alabastrum, a flower bud. Alack, an exclamation expressive of sorrow. Alacridae, an exclamation expressing sorrow. Alacrify, to rouse to action, to inspirit. Alacrious, brisk, joyously active, lively. Alacriously, with alacrity, briskly. Alacriousness, alacrity, a cheerful readiness, willingness, or promptitude, joyous activity, briskness, sprightliness, as the soldiers advanced with alacrity to meet the enemy. Aladdinist, one of a sect of free thinkers among the Mohammedans. Alalonga, alt of Alalongi. Alalongi, the tunny, see albicore. Alamire, the lowest note, but one in Guido Aretino's scale of music. Alamodality, the quality of being a la mode, conformity to the mode or fashion, fashionableness. Alamode, according to the fashion or prevailing mode. Alamort, to the death, mortally. Allen, a wolfhound. Alland, on land, to the land, ashore. Alanine, a white crystalline base, C3H7NO2 derived from aldehyde ammonia. Allantin, C. inulin. Aller, pertaining to or having wings. Alarm, a summons to arms as on the approach of an enemy. Alarmed, of alarm. Alarming, of alarm. Alarmable, easily alarmed or disturbed. Alarmedly, in an alarmed manner. Alarmist, one prone to sound or excite alarms, especially needless alarms. Alarum, see alarm. Ailery, of or pertaining to wings, also wing-shaped. Alas, an exclamation expressive of sorrow, pity, or apprehension of evil. In old writers, sometimes followed by day or white. Alas the day, like alack a day, or alas the white. Alate, lately, of late. Alate, winged, having wings or side appendages like wings. Alatern, alt of alaternus. Alaternus, an ornamental evergreen shrub, Rhamnus alaternus, belonging to the buckthorns. Elation, the state of being wing. Alant, see Allen. Alb, a vestment of white linen reaching to the feet and enveloping the person. In the Roman Catholic Church, worn by those in holy orders when officiating at Mass. It was formerly worn at least by clerics in daily life. Albacore, See albicore. Albin, a white crystalline resinous substance extracted from gutta percha by the action of alcohol or ether. Albanian, of or pertaining to Albania, a province of Turkey. Albata, a white metallic alloy, which is made into spoons, forks, teapots, etc. British plate or German silver. See German silver under German. Albatross, a web-footed bird of the genus Diomedia, of which there are several species. They are the largest of sea birds capable of long-continued flight and are often seen at great distances from the land. They are found chiefly in the southern hemisphere. Alba, alt of albi, albi, although albeit. Albedo, whiteness, specifically, astron, the ratio which the light reflected from an unpolished surface bears to the total light falling upon that surface. Albeit, even though, although, notwithstanding. Albertite, a bituminous mineral resembling asphaltum found in the county of A/Burt, New Brunswick. Albertype, a picture printed from a kind of gelatin plate produced by means of a photographic negative. Albescence, the act of becoming white, whitishness. Albescent, becoming white or whitish, moderately white. Albicant, growing or becoming white. Albication, the process of becoming white or developing white patches or streaks. Albicore, a name applied to several large fishes of the mackerel family ESP or Sinus alalonga. One species, or Sinus thinus, common in the Mediterranean and Atlantic, is called in New England the horse mackerel, the tunny. Albification, the act or process of making white. Albigenses, alt of albigiois. Albigiois, a sect of reformers opposed to the Church of Rome in the 12th centuries. Albigensian, of or pertaining to the Albigenses. Albinus, a female albino. Albinism, the state or condition of being an albino. Albinoism, leucopathy. Albinistic, affected with albinism. Albinos, of albino. Albino, a person whether Negro, Indian, or white in whom by some defect of organization the substance which gives color to the skin, hair, and eyes is deficient or in a morbid state. Albinoism, the state or condition of being an albino. Albinism. Albinotic, affected with albinism. Albion, an ancient name of England still retained in poetry. Albite, a mineral of the feldspar family, triclinic in crystallization and in composition a silicate of alumina and soda. It is a common constituent of granite and of various igneous rocks. See feldspar. Albolith, a kind of plastic cement or artificial stone consisting chiefly of magnesia and silica, called also albolite. Albarak, the imaginary milk-white animal on which Muhammad was said to have been carried up to heaven, a white mule. Albuginous, of the nature of or resembling the white of the eye or of an egg. Albuminous, a term applied to textures, humors, etc., which are perfectly white. Albugenes, of albugo. Albugo, same as glaucoma. Album, a white tablet on which anything was inscribed as a list of names, etc. Albumin, the white of an egg. Albuminized, of albuminize. Albuminizing, of albuminize. Albuminize, to cover or saturate with albumin, to coat or treat with an albuminous solution, as to albuminize paper. Album Greecum, dung of dogs or hyenas which becomes white by exposure to air. It is used in dressing leather and was formerly used in medicine. Albumin, a thick, viscous nitrogenous substance which is the chief and characteristic constituent of white of eggs and of the serum of blood, and is found in other animal substances, both fluid and solid, also in many plants. Albuminate, a substance produced by the action of an alkali upon albumin and resembling casein in its properties. Also a compound formed by the union of albumin with another substance. Albuminiferous, supplying albumin. Albuminimeter, an instrument for ascertaining the quantity of albumin in a liquid. Albuminin, the substance of the cells which enclose the white of birds' eggs. Albuminiferous, producing albumin. Albuminoid, resembling albumin. Albuminoidal, of the nature of an albuminoid. Albuminose, a diffusible substance formed from albumin by the action of natural or artificial gastric juice. See peptone. Albuminous, alt of albuminose. Albuminuria, a morbid condition in which albumin is present in the urine. Albumose, a compound or class of compounds formed from albumin by dilute acids or by an acid solution of pepsin, used also in combination as anti-albumose hemialbumose. Albuin, the bleak, a small European fish having scales of a peculiarly silvery color which are used in making artificial pearls. Alburnus, of or pertaining to alburnum, of the alburnum, as alburnous substances. Alburnum, the white and softer part of wood between the inner bark and the hardwood or duramen, sapwood. Alban, Scotland, ESP, the Highlands of Scotland. Alcade, same as alcade. Alcahest, same as alcest. Alcaic, pertaining to Alcaeus, a lyric poet of Mytilene about 6000 BC. Alcade, alt of Alcaide. Alcaide, a commander of a castle or fortress among the Spaniards, Portuguese, and Moors. Alcalde, a magistrate or judge in Spain and in Spanish America, etc. Alkalimeter, see alkalimeter. Alcana, an oriental shrub, Lawsonia inermis, from which henna is obtained. Alcarazes, of Alcaraza. Alcaraza, a vessel of porous earthenware used for cooling liquids by evaporation from the exterior surface. Alcazar, a fortress, also a royal palace. Alcedo, a genus of perching birds including the European kingfisher, Alcedo ispida. See halcyon. Alchemic, alt of alchemical. Alchemical, of or relating to alchemy. Alchemically, in the manner of alchemy. Alchemist, one who practices alchemy. Alchemistic, alt of alchemistical. Alchemistical, relating to or practicing alchemy. Alchemistry, alchemy. Alchemize, to change by alchemy, to transmute. Alchemy, an imaginary art which aimed to transmute the baser metals into gold to find the panacea or universal remedy for diseases, etc. It led the way to modern chemistry. Alchemic, alt of alchemy. Alchemist, alt of alchemy. Alchemistic, alt of alchemy. Alchemy, see alchemic, alchemist, alchemistic alchemy. Alco, a small South American dog domesticated by the Aborigines. Alcoate, alt of alcohate. Alcohate, shortened forms of alcoholate. Alcohol, an impalpable powder. Alcoholate, a crystallizable compound of a salt with alcohol, in which the latter plays a part analogous to that of water of crystallization. Alcoholiture, an alcoholic tincture prepared with fresh plants. Alcoholic, of or pertaining to alcohol or partaking of its qualities, derived from or caused by alcohol, containing alcohol, as alcoholic mixtures, alcoholic gastritis, alcoholic odor. Alcoholism, a diseased condition of the system brought about by the continued use of alcoholic liquors. Alcoholized, of alcoholize, alcoholizing, of alcoholize, alcoholize, to reduce to a fine powder. Alcoholometer, alt of alcohol meter, alcohol meter, an instrument for determining the strength of spirits with a scale graduated so as to indicate the percentage of pure alcohol either by weight or volume. It is usually a form of hydrometer with a special scale. Alcoholometric, alt of alcohol metrical, alcoholometrical, alt of alcohol metrical, alcohol metrical, relating to the alcoholometer or alcoholometry. Alcoholometry, the process or method of ascertaining the proportion of pure alcohol which spirituous liquors contain. Alcohometer, alt of alcohometric, alcohometric, same as alcoholometer, alcoholometric. Alcometry, see alcoholometry. Al-Quran, the Mohammedan scriptures, the Quran, now the usual form. Al-Quranic, of or pertaining to the Quran. Al-Quranist, one who adheres to the letter of the Quran, rejecting all traditions. Alcove, a recessed portion of a room or a small room opening into a larger one, especially a recess to contain a bed, a lateral recess in a library. Halcyon, see Halcyon. Alcyonaceae, a group of soft-bodied alcyonaria of which Alcyonium is the type. See Illust. Under Alcyonaria. Alcyonaria, one of the orders of Anthozoa. It includes the Alcyonacea, Pinaculaceae, and Gorgonacea. Alcyones, the kingfishers. Alcyonic, of or pertaining to the Alcyonaria. Alcyonium, a genus of fleshy Alcyonaria, its polyps somewhat resembling flowers with 8 fringed rays. The term was also formerly used for certain species of sponges. Alcyonoid, like or pertaining to the Alcyonaria. Aldae, continually. Aldebaran, a red star of the first magnitude situated in the eye of Taurus, the bull's eye. It is the bright star in the group called the Hyades. Aldehyde, a colorless, mobile, and very volatile liquid obtained from alcohol by certain processes of oxidation. Aldehydic, of or pertaining to aldehyde, as aldehydic acid. Alder, a tree usually growing in moist land and belonging to the genus Alnus. The wood is used by turners, etc., the bark by dyers and tanners. In the U.S., the species of alder are usually shrubs or small trees. Aller, of all, used in composition, as alder best, best of all, alder wisest, wisest of all. Alderleafist, most beloved. Alderman, of alderman. Alderman, a senior or superior, a person of rank or dignity. Aldermancy, the office of an alderman. Aldermanic, relating to becoming to or like an alderman, characteristic of an alderman. Aldermanity, aldermen collectively, the body of aldermen. Alderman-like, like or suited to an alderman. Aldermanly, pertaining to or like an alderman. Aldermanry, the district or ward of an alderman. Aldermanship, the condition, position, or office of an alderman. Aldern, made of alder. Alderney, one of a breed of cattle raised in Alderney, one of the Channel Islands. Alderneys are of a dun or tawny color and are often called Jersey cattle. See Jersey 3. Aldine, an epithet applied to editions, chiefly of the classics, which proceeded from the press of Aldus Manutius and his family of Venice for the most part in the 16th century, and known by the sign of the anchor and the dolphin. Ale, an intoxicating liquor made from an infusion of malt by fermentation and the addition of a bitter, usually hops. A leak, in a leaking condition. Aleatory, depending on some uncertain contingency, as an aleatory contract. Alebench, a bench in or before an alehouse. Aleberry, a beverage formerly made by boiling ale with spiced sugar and sops of bread. Alecephalus, applied to those ova which segment uniformly and which have little or no food yolk embedded in their protoplasm. Aleconner, Orig, an officer appointed to look to the goodness of ale and beer. Also one of the officers chosen by the liverymen of London to inspect the measures used in public houses. But the office is a sinecure, also called alitaster. Ilcost, the plant costmary which was formerly much used for flavoring ale. Electorides, a group of birds including the common fowl and the pheasants. Alectoromachy, cockfighting. Electromancy, see electriomancy. Electriomachy, cockfighting. Electriomancy, divination by means of a cock and grains of corn placed on the letters of the alphabet, the letters being put together in the order in which the grains were eaten. A lee, on or toward the lee or the side away from the wind, the opposite of a weather. The helm of a ship is a lee when pressed close to the lee side. Allegar, sour ale, vinegar made of ale. Alleger, gay, cheerful, sprightly. Allega, to allay or alleviate, to lighten. Alehoof, ground ivy, Nepeta glaucoma. Alehouse, a house where ale is retailed, hence a tippling house. Ale knight, a pot companion. Alemannic, belonging to the Alemanni, a confederacy of warlike German tribes. Alembic, an apparatus formerly used in distillation, usually made of glass or metal. It has mostly given place to the retort and worm still. Alambroth, the salt of wisdom of the alchemists, a double salt composed of the chlorides of ammonium and mercury. It was formerly used as a stimulant. Allen/on lace, see under lace. A length, at full length, lengthwise. A lepidote, not having scales. Alepole, a pole set up as the sign of an alehouse. Alert, watchful, vigilant, active in vigilance. Alertly, in an alert manner, nimbly. Alertness, the quality of being alert or on the alert. Briskness, nimbleness, activity. Ale silver, a duty payable to the Lord Mayor of London by the sellers of ale within the city. Alestake, a stake or pole projecting from or set up before an alehouse as a sign, an ale pole. At the end was commonly suspended a garland, a bunch of leaves, or a bush. Alitaster, see Aleconner. Aletheology, the science which treats of the nature of truth and evidence. Alethoscope, An instrument for viewing pictures by means of a lens so as to present them in their natural proportions and relations. Alluromancy, divination by means of flower. Allurometer, an instrument for determining the expansive properties or quality of gluten in flour. Alluron, an albuminoid substance which occurs in minute grains, protein granules, in maturing seeds and tubers, supposed to be a modification of protoplasm. Alluronic, having the nature of alluron. Aleutian, alt of aleutic, aleutic, of or pertaining to a chain of islands between Alaska and Kamchatka, also designating these islands. Alevin, young fish, fry. Alu, halu, alewives, of alewife, alewife, a woman who keeps an alehouse. Alexanders, alt of Olisanders, Olisanders, a name given to two species of the genus Smyrnium formerly cultivated and used as celery now is, called also horse parsley. Alexandrian, of or pertaining to Alexandria in Egypt, as the Alexandrian Library. Alexandrin, belonging to Alexandria, Alexandrian. Alexipharmac, alt of alexipharmacal, alexipharmacal, alexipharmic, alexipharmic, alt of alexipharmacal, alexipharmacal, expelling or counteracting poison, antidotal. Alexipyretic, serving to drive off fever, antifebrile. Alexiteric, alt of alexiterical, alexiterical, resisting poison, obviating the effects of venom, alexipharmic. Alpha, alt of alpha grass, alpha grass, a plant, Macrocloa tenacissima, of North Africa, also its fiber used in paper making. Alfalfa, the Lucerne medicago sativa, so called in California, Texas, etc. Alphanite, an alloy of nickel and silver electroplated with silver. Alfiers, an ensign, a standard bearer. Alfit, a cauldron of boiling water into which an accused person plunged his forearm as a test of innocence or guilt. Alfilaria, the pin grass, Erodium secutarium, a weed in California. Alphione, an edible marine fish of California, Rhacocolus toxotes. Alfresco, in the open air. Algae, of alga, alga, a kind of seaweed. PL, the class of cellular cryptogamic plants which includes the black, red, and green seaweeds, as kelp, dulse, sea lettuce, also marine and freshwater confervae, etc. Algal, pertaining to or like algae. Algaroba, the caroba leguminous tree of the Mediterranean region, also its edible beans or pods called St. John's bread. Algaroth, alt of algaroth, algaroth, a term used for the powder of algaroth, a white powder which is a compound of trichloride and trioxide of antimony. It was formerly used in medicine as an emetic, purgative, and diaphoretic. Algarovilla, the agglutinated seeds and husks of the legumes of a South American tree, Ingamarthi. It is valuable for tanning leather and as a dye. Algate, alt of algates, algates, always, wholly, everywhere. Algazelle, the true gazelle. Algebra, that branch of mathematics which treats of the relations and properties of quantity by means of letters and other symbols. It is applicable to those relations that are true of every kind of magnitude. Algebraic, alt of algebraical, algebraical, of or pertaining to algebra. containing an operation of algebra or deduced from such operation, as algebraic characters, algebraical writings. Algebraically, by algebraic process. Algebraist, one versed in algebra. Algebraize, to perform by algebra, to reduce to algebraic form. Algerian, of or pertaining to Algeria. Algerine, of or pertaining to Algiers or Algeria. Algid, cold, chilly. Algidity, chilliness, coldness. Algidness, algidity. Algific, producing cold. Algoid, of the nature of or resembling an alga. Algol, a fixed star in Medusa's head in the constellation Perseus, remarkable for its periodic variation in brightness. Algological, of or pertaining to algology, as algological specimens. Algologist, one learned about algae, a student of algology. Algology, the study or science of algae or seaweeds. Algonquin, alt of Algonquin. Algonquin, one of a widely spread family of Indians, including many distinct tribes which formerly occupied most of the northern and eastern part of North America. The name was originally applied to a group of Indian tribes north of the River St. Lawrence. Algor, cold, chilliness. Algorithm, alt of algorithm. Algorithm, the art of calculating by 9 figures and 0. Algus, of or pertaining to the algae or seaweeds, abounding with or like seaweed. Alguazil, an inferior officer of justice in Spain, a warrant officer, a constable. Algum, same as almug and etymologically preferable. Alhambra, the palace of the Moorish kings at Granada. Alhambraic, alt of alhambresque. Alhambresque, made or decorated after the fanciful style of the ornamentation in the Alhambra, which affords an unusually fine exhibition of Saracenic or Arabesque architecture. Alhenna, sea henna. Alias, otherwise called, a term used in legal proceedings to connect the different names of anyone who has gone by 2 or more and whose true name is for any cause doubtful, as Smith alias Simpson. Aliases, of alias. Alibi, the plea or mode of defense under which a person on trial for a crime proves or attempts to prove that he was in another place when the alleged act was committed, as to set up an alibi, to prove an alibi. Alability, quality of being alable. Alable, nutritive, nourishing. Alicant, a kind of wine formerly much esteemed, said to have been made near Alicant in Spain. Alidate, the portion of a graduated instrument as a quadrant or astrolabe carrying the sights or telescope and showing the degrees cut off on the arc of the instrument. Alien, not belonging to the same country, land, or government, or to the citizens or subjects thereof. Foreign, as alien subjects, enemies, property, shores. Alienability, capability of being alienated. Alienable, capable of being alienated, sold, or transferred to another, as land is alienable according to the laws of the state. Alienage, the state or legal condition of being an alien. Alienate, estranged, withdrawn in affection, foreign, with from. Alienated, of alienate. Alienating, of alienate. Alienation, the act of alienating or the state of being alienated. Alienator, one who alienates. Alien, to alien or alienate, to transfer as title or property, as to alien an estate. Alienee, one to whom the title of property is transferred, opposed to alienor. Alienism, the status or legal condition of an alien, alienage. Alienist, one who treats diseases of the mind. Alienor, one who alienates or transfers property to another. Aliethmoid, alt of aliethmoidal. Aliethmoidal, pertaining to expansions of the ethmoid bone or cartilage. A life, on my life, dearly. Aliferous, having wings winged. Aligerous, aliform, wing-shaped, wing-like. Aligerous, having wings, wing. Alighted, of alight. Alit, of alight. Alighting, of alight. Alight, to spring down, get down, or descend as from on horseback or from a carriage, to dismount. Align, to adjust or form to align. To range or form in line, to bring into line, to align. Alignment, the act of adjusting to a line, arrangement in a line or lines, the state of being so adjusted, a formation in a straight line, also the line of adjustment. ASP, an imaginary line to regulate the formation of troops or of a squadron. Alike, having resemblance or similitude, similar, without difference. Alike-minded, like-minded. Aliment, that which nourishes, food, nutriment, anything which feeds or adds to a substance in natural growth. Hence, the necessaries of life generally, sustenance, means of support. Alimental, supplying food, having the quality of nourishing, furnishing the materials for natural growth, as alimental sap. Alimentally, so as to serve for nourishment or food, nourishing quality. Alimentariness, the quality of being alimentary, nourishing quality. Alimentary, pertaining to aliment or food or to the function of nutrition. Nutritious, alimental, as alimentary substances. Alimentación, the act or process of affording nutriment, the function of the alimentary canal. Alimentiveness, the instinct or faculty of appetite for food. Alimonious, affording food, nourishing. Alimony, maintenance, means of living. Alinasal, pertaining to expansions of the nasal bone or cartilage. Aline, to range or place in a line, to bring into line, to align. Alineation, see alineation. Alignment, same as alignment. Aligner, one who adjusts things to a line or lines or brings them into line. Alioth, a star in the tail of the great bear, the one next the bowl in the dipper. Aliped, wing-footed as the bat. Aliquant, an aliquant part of a number or quantity is one which does not divide it without leaving a remainder. Thus 5 is an aliquant part of 16, opposed to aliquot. Aliquot, an aliquot part of a number or quantity is one which will divide it without a remainder. Thus 5 is an aliquot part of 15, opposed to aliquant. Alloceptal, relating to expansions of the nasal septum. Alish, like ale, as an alish taste. Allospheноid, alt of allospheноidal. Allospheноidal, pertaining to or forming the wing of the sphenoid, relating to a bone in the base of the skull which in the adult is often consolidated with the sphenoid, as allosphenoid bone, allosphenoid canal. Trunk, the segment of the body of an insect to which the wings are attached, the thorax. Aliturgical, applied to those days when the holy sacrifice is not offered. Aliund, from another source, from elsewhere, as a case proved aliund, evidence aliund. Alive, having life in opposition to dead. Living, being in a state in which the organs perform their functions, as an animal or a plant which is alive. Alizarin, the matter of the Levant. Alizarin, a coloring principle C14H6O2, OH, 2 found in matter and now produced artificially from anthracene. It produces the Turkish reds. Alkest, the fabled universal solvent of the alchemists, a menstruum capable of dissolving all bodies. Alkalamide, one of a series of compounds that may be regarded as ammonia in which a part of the hydrogen has been replaced by basic and another part by acid atoms or radicals. Alkalescence, alt of alkalescency. Alkalescency, a tendency to become alkaline, or the state of a substance in which alkaline properties begin to be developed or to predominate. Alkalescent, tending to the properties of an alkali, slightly alkaline. Alkalize, of alkali. Alkalize, of alkali. Alkali, soda ash, caustic soda, caustic potash, etc. Alkalifiable, capable of being alkalifid or converted into an alkali. Alkalifid, of alkalify. Alkalifying, of alkalify. Alkalify, to convert into an alkali, to give alkaline properties to. Alkalimeter, an instrument to ascertain the strength of alkalis or the quantity of alkali in a mixture. Alkalimetric, alt of alkalimetrical. Alkalimetrical, of or pertaining to alkalimetry. Alkalimetry, the art or process of ascertaining the strength of alkalis or the quantity present in alkaline mixtures. Alkaline, of or pertaining to an alkali or to alkalis, having the properties of an alkali. Alkalinity, the quality which constitutes an alkali, alkaline property. Alkalious, alkaline. Alkalizate, alkaline. Alkalization, the act rendering alkaline by impregnating with an alkali, a conferring of alkaline qualities. Alkalizing, of alkalize. Alkalize, to render alkaline, to communicate the properties of an alkali to. Alkaloid, alt of alkaloidal. Alkaloidal, pertaining to resembling or containing alkali. Alkanet, a dyeing matter extracted from the roots of Alcana tinctoria, which gives a fine, deep red color. Alcargen, same as cacodylic acid. Alkersin, a spontaneously inflammable liquid having a repulsive odor and consisting of cacodyl and its oxidation products, called also Cadell's fuming liquid. Alcazar, see Alcazar. Alcakenji, an herbaceous plant of the nightshade family, Physalis alcakenji, and its fruit, which is a well-flavored berry the size of a cherry loosely enclosed in an enlarged leafy calyx. Also called winter cherry, ground cherry, and strawberry tomato. Alkermes, a compound cordial in the form of a confection deriving its name from the Kermes insect, its principal ingredient. Alquran, the Mohammedan scriptures, same as Al-Quran and Quran. Al-Quranic, same as Al-Quranic. Al-Quranist, same as Al-Quranist. All, The whole, quantity, extent, duration, amount, quality, or degree of. The whole number of. Any, whatever, every, as all the wheat, all the land, all the year, all the strength, all happiness, all abundance, loss of all power, beyond all doubt. You will see us all, or all of us. A la breve, with one breve or 4 minims to measure and sung faster like 4 crotchets, in quick common time, indicated in the time signature by slashed. Allah, the name of the supreme being in use among the Arabs and the Mohammedans generally. Alamort, see Alamort. Allanite, a silicate containing a large amount of cerium. It is usually black in color, opaque, and is related to epidote in form and composition. Allantoic, pertaining to or contained in the allantois. Allantoid, alt of allantoidal. Allantoidal, of or pertaining to the allantois. Allantoidea, the division of vertebrata in which the embryo develops an allantois. It includes reptiles, birds, and mammals. Allantoin, a crystalline, transparent, colorless substance found in the allantoic liquid of the fetal calf, formerly called allantoic acid and amniotic acid. Allantois, alt of allantoid. Allotrate, to bark as a dog. Allayed, of allay. Allaying, of allay. Allay, to make quiet or put at rest, to pacify or appease, to quell, to calm, as to allay popular excitement, to allay the tumult of the passions. Allayer, one who or that which allays. Allayment, an allaying, that which allays, mitigation. Alacrit, a kind of light armor used in the 16th century ESP by the Swiss. Elect, to allure, to entice. Alectation, enticement, allurement. Elective, alluring. Allege, see allege. Allegation, the act of alleging or positively asserting. Alleged, of allege. Alleging, of allege. Allege, to bring forward with positiveness, to declare, to affirm, to assert, as to allege a fact. Allegible, capable of being alleged or affirmed. Allegiance, allegation. Allegement, allegation. Alleger, one who affirms or declares. Allega, see allega and allay. Allegiance, the tie or obligation implied or expressed which a subject owes to his sovereign or government. The duty of fidelity to one's king, government, or state. Allegiant, loyal. Allegoric, alt of allegorical. Allegorical, belonging to or consisting of allegory, of the nature of an allegory, describing by resemblances, figurative. Allegorist, one who allegorizes, a writer of allegory. Allegorization, the act of turning into allegory or of understanding in an allegorical sense. Allegorized, of allegorize. Allegorizing, of allegorize. Allegorize, to form or turn into allegory, as to allegorize the history of a people. Allegorizer, one who allegorizes or turns things into allegory. An allegorist. Allegories, of allegory. Allegory, a figurative sentence or discourse in which the principal subject is described by another subject resembling it in its properties and circumstances. Allegress, joy, gladsomeness. Allegretto, quicker than andante, but not so quick as allegro. allegro, brisk, lively, alleluia, alt of alleluia, alleluia, an exclamation signifying praise ye Jehovah, hence a song of praise to God. See hallelujah, the commoner form. Allemande, a dance in moderate twofold time invented by the French in the reign of Louis XIV, now mostly found in suites of pieces like those of Bach and Handel. Alemannic, see Alemannic, Allinerly, solely, only, Illyrian, am eagle without beak or feet with expanded wings. Alleviated, of alleviate, alleviating, of alleviate, alleviate, to lighten or lessen the force or weight of. Alleviation, the act of alleviating, a lightening of weight or severity, mitigation, relief. Alleviative, tending to alleviate. Alleviator, one who or that which alleviates. Alleviatory, alleviative. Alleys, of alley, alley, a narrow passage, especially a walk or passage in a garden or park bordered by rows of trees or bushes, a bordered way. Alleyed, furnished with alleys, forming an alley. Alleyway, an alley. All Fool's Day, the first day of April, a day on which sportive impositions are practiced. All Fours, a game at cards called High-Low Jack in the game. All fours, all four legs of a quadruped, or the two legs and two arms of a person. All hail, all health, a phrase of salutation or welcome. All hail, to salute, to greet. All halland, all hallows, all hallow, alt of all hallows, all hallows, all the saints in heaven. All Hallow Eve, the evening before All Hallows. See Halloween, All Hallowmas, the feast of all saints. All Hallowed, of or pertaining to the time of All Hallows. OBS, All Hallowed Summer. Shack, i.e., late summer, Indian summer. All Hallowtide, the time at or near All Saints or November 1st. All Heal, a name popularly given to the officinal valerian and to some other plants. Alliable, able to enter into alliance. Alliaceous, of or pertaining to the genus allium or garlic, onions, leeks, etc., having the smell or taste of garlic or onions. Alliance, the state of being allied, the act of allying or uniting, a union or connection of interest between families, states, parties, etc., especially between families by marriage and states by compact, treaty, or league. Alliant, an ally, a confederate. Allice, alt of Alice, Alice, the European shad, Clupea vulgaris, Allice shad. Celos, alliancy, attractive power, attractiveness. Allicient, that attracts, attracting. Allied, united, joined, leagued. Akin, related. See ally, alligate, to tie, to unite by some tie. Allegation, the act of tying together or attaching by some bond or the state of being attached. Alligator, a large carnivorous reptile of the crocodile family peculiar to America. It has a shorter and broader snout than the crocodile, and the large teeth of the lower jaw shut into pits in the upper jaw, which has no marginal notches. Alignment, see alignment. Alineate, to align. Alineation, alt of alineation. Elision, the act of dashing against or striking upon. Alliteral, pertaining to or characterized by alliteration. Alliterate, To employ or place so as to make alliteration. Alliteration. The repetition of the same letter at the beginning of two or more words immediately succeeding each other or at short intervals, as in the following lines, dash. Alliterative. Pertaining to or characterized by alliteration, as alliterative poetry. Alliterator. One who alliterates. Allium. A genus of plants including the onion, garlic, leek, chive, etc. Allmouth. The angler. Allness. Totality, completeness. All night. Light fuel or food for the whole night. Allocate. To distribute or assign, to allot. Allocation. The act of putting one thing to another, a placing, disposition, arrangement. Allocator. Allowed. The word allocator expresses the allowance of a proceeding, writ, order, etc. by a court judge or judicial officer. Allochroic. Changeable in color. Allochroite. Sea garnet. Allochrous. Changing color. Allocution. The act or manner of speaking to or of addressing in words. Allot. See allodium. Allodial. Pertaining to allodium, freehold, free of rent or service, held independent of a lord paramount, opposed to feudal, as allodial lands, allodial system. Allodialism. The allodial system. Allodialist. One who holds allodial land. Allodially. By allodial tenure. Allodiary. One who holds an allodium. Allodium. Freehold estate. Land which is the absolute property of the owner. Real estate held in absolute independence without being subject to any rent, service, or acknowledgement to a superior. It is thus opposed to feud. Allogamous. Characterized by allogamy. Allogamy. Fertilization of the pistil of a plant by pollen from another of the same species, cross-fertilization. Allogenous. Different in nature or kind. Allograph. A writing or signature made by some person other than any of the parties thereto, opposed to autograph. Allomerism. Variability in chemical constitution without variation in crystalline form. Allomerous. Characterized by allomerism. Allomorph. Any one of two or more distinct crystalline forms of the same substance, or the substance having such forms, as carbonate of lime occurs in the allomorphs calcite and aragonite. Allomorphic. Of or pertaining to allomorphism. Allomorphism. The property which constitutes an allomorph, the change involved in becoming an allomorph. Allonge. A thrust or pass, a lunge. Allonym. The name of another person assumed by the author of a work. Allonymous. Published under the name of someone other than the author. Alloo. To incite dogs by a call, to halloo. Allopath. An allopathist. Allopathic. Of or pertaining to allopathy. Allopathically. In a manner conformable to allopathy by allopathic methods. Allopathist. One who practices allopathy. One who professes allopathy. Allopathy. That system of medical practice which aims to combat disease by the use of remedies which produce effects different from those produced by the special disease treated. A term invented by Hahnemann to designate the ordinary practice as opposed to homeopathy. Allophilic. Alt of allophilian.